Good morning, sir.
We're back.
How are you?
Tuesday morning.
Look at that.
Synthetic Monday.
Bright and early, 6:30. We're knocking out in the Forex world, which has already been trading for 2 solid days.
Yeah.
We started Sunday night at 4. Quiet. You know, this is typical kind of, I mean, we've had a great start to the year, great start to February even. But markets, like everybody, get a little bit tired, and it seems like we're in that spot right now. Euro's a solid 3 handles off its lows, but bleeding a little bit lower today. But speaking about improvement,
What's that?
I mean, you've got the whole, I like the tight side rails and the flip and everything.
I got a little bit of a haircut.
Blind barber?
Yeah, I asked.
Were they drinking or not?
I don't think so.
This is a barbershop in the West Loop in Chicago that has, they call it all these speakeasies now. It's just like.
It's pretty lame.
The whole speakeasy concept
I shouldn't say
is
lame.
kind of
the concept I think is completely played out.
Yeah.
Where it's like, there's a room, but it's like behind this other room, and it's like, okay. But I will say, so I went there, asked her to cut it a little bit shorter in the front. I guess she did not. But then it's just so hard when she finishes the haircut and she's like, how does it look? Like, if you want, I can go shorter. It's Friday at like 4:30, and I'm like, I really just want to go home at this point. So it's hard for me to the confrontation of like, actually, yeah, put the bib back on me and cut it shorter, and I wanted to get out of there. So it was fine. I will say,
then you got to get back into the airplane and our race car and everything, and that's trouble.
Yeah, she took me out of the little fire truck, and to look in the mirror, and so getting me back in the fire truck and
you were all
getting
sugared
the
up at this point on sprees.
I already had my
Twizzlers.
sucker. Yeah,
right.
I wanted to get out of there. I will say I did have like one of those moments that I'm sure you've had millions of at this point, given your experience. We'll say where. I was like, oh, am I old and uncool now? At the end of the haircut, so the whole thing, they charge you $1 million for this haircut. It's a nice haircut, but the whole, like, part of the allure, I think, to maybe us yuppies around the West Loop is like, oh, you go there and it's like a cool place, and they'll give you a drink while you're waiting. And so I get a Topo Chico,
which is
it's just sparkling water.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there like waiting for, it's like 5 minutes or whatever. And so you can only drink so much of this Topo Chico. I drink like half of it, and then you get your haircut, and then she like hands it back to you, and it's like, what? I'm not going to sit here and like down this thing. And so I bring it to the front, and the guy kind of looks at me like, what do you want me to do with this? And I'm like, oh, can you like take care of this? Like,
is it in a glass? It's not a bottle.
It's in the bottle.
Okay.
Like, oh, I don't want any more of it. And he like looks me dead in the face, and he's like, it's all right, I'll drink it. And I was just like, okay. And then they all start laughing, and I'm like, am I like some old schmuck that they're all laughing at now? Like, what happened? I couldn't help but feel like and then I walked out of there, and I'm like, yeah, like, were we all laughing, or am I just like old and they're making fun of me now? Like, they're the young hip people. And I used to be the young hip person, by the way. Okay, I've spent plenty of time at the Rainbow Club, at all the cool places, doing stuff that you're not supposed to be doing.
With your heaters and everything, yes.
Smoking cigs, illicit drugs, the whole thing. And now I'm like this sober, weird old person that they all make fun of. Is that what's happening?
I don't quite know, because the whole concept of this kitschy bar thing, what they want you to do is like spend time enjoying the experience. It's like, I just want the haircut. I don't need experience. I got stuff to do.
She does a good haircut.
And all of them are more important than sitting here.
I'll give them that the haircut is good. Best haircut I've ever gotten in my life. So I'll give them that. But yeah, it is like, I couldn't tell where the joke was, and that kind of it puts me off.
See, and you should have just responded, enjoy it. I won't even charge you for the last half.
Yeah, I should have said,
Yeah.
okay, if $60, and that's before the tip, gets me a Topo Chico and a haircut, how much money do I get back for the half a Topo Chico?
What do you think is an expensive haircut, given that $60 you think is expensive? What's a cheap haircut now?
A cheap haircut now, a normal haircut, I think, is the $30 to $40 range.
Okay.
You think that 60 is cheap? Okay, this opened up a whole new door.
No,
how much is Pete's haircut?
Well, mine involves shipping because I just take mine off and I mail it in. And they send it back a week later. It's all washed and fluffed, so it's nice. I just glue it right back on.
Just tell us how much your haircut is now. Now I have to know.
Well, no, I'm just wondering because it's like Supercuts is what, $18, $20?
I gotta look it up now. Supercuts haircut price. Is your haircut over $100?
I don't actually know, to tell you the truth.
You're so full of it. Oh my God. See,
Okay,
this is what I'm saying. Like
so
Supercuts is in the
what is
20
it- what is
to
the two, though?
$30
Oh,
range.
where
A
they wash.
Supercut is 28.
Okay.
A Supercut 2, which gets you the haircut with shampoo and conditioner, that sounds nice.
Okay,
is 38.
Can I ask you what glazing is?
Oh man!
Last time-
if you ask the wrong person, you're going to get an answer you don't want.
I just have a bad idea that glazing is not good. And it's expensive.
No comment on that. I have no clue what this glazing is. I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Okay.
It's funny, yeah. When you go to we have the Supercuts menu up on the screen. We don't need to share it, but there's a whole assortment of stuff. Gray blending. Do you get that done?
I don't. I'm fortunate to actually have real hair. So for the time being,
Wait,
one of
it's
the
not
few
real
things-
hair. It's what is? I don't actually even know what gray blending is. That's where they
I would imagine that if you
take some of the gray out of your hair.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's the whatever you see advertised on TV, but they
Highlights.
actually do it.
Highlights are expensive, man. And yeah, whatever this glazing is, if this glazing is the same glazing that I am thinking the kids are talking about, then maybe that is a good price, $60. Anyways, yeah, got the haircut.
Okay,
Saw
fantastic. So that was Friday. You had Valentine's. So it had to be. I imagine you go home with the look, which is very.
It was game over. I didn't even need flowers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
What do you want
just
from
had
me?
the sash and the diaper on, and you were good to go.
That's New Year's.
Oh,
Are you
you're
thinking
right.
The New Year's baby.
What am I thinking about? That's right. Wrong holiday. Okay. I was just hoping you could reuse the diaper, but I guess not.
Yeah, what was it? It was pretty good. Kelly's sister was in town. We went
that's
to
right.
the all-you-can-eat rotary sushi. Not as good as there's a great chain if you're in Chicago
Rotary
and you
sushi?
want to do all-you-can-eat sushi, which I don't know why.
Does that just mean it's
you
on
would.
the belt?
Yeah. There's a
been to that
great
place.
chain called Sushi Taku, and the one in Wicker Park is unbelievable. I mean, it's not the best sushi
you
you've
were
ever had.
really
but
angling for
but
some
for all
free
you can
sushi.
eat. Trust me, they're not going to give it to me. But for all you can eat, it's pretty good. They opened a rotary one on the north side. We went to that one. A lot of fun. The sushi's not as good. I think that they cut down the quality for the experience of it's going around on a rotary, but then also if you order off the iPad, they send it on like a bullet train. Or they have a robot. They have a robot that comes along with your stuff as well.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
It's
so
we got it opens at 4:30. My trick is always like I'm gonna get there either at 4:30 or at
That's
4:45.
right. See, you're learning.
We get there at 5, and I'm like dragging Callie. I'm like, you need to hurry up. And then she's like, oh, my sister, she went to the wrong one. And I'm like, leave her behind. We can't make it at this point.
You have converted to the dark side of being old. You really are.
We get there at 5:05, and there's a 45-minute wait.
Wow.
Unbelievable, this place. But yeah, it was fine. The experience was fun. Sushi, not so good. And then I went and saw The Brutalist, which I called you during halftime. There's a halftime intermission for this movie. And I was like, oh, I really like it. The first half's really good. The second half is really dark.
So, what, 4 hours all in or what?
With the intermission, I think it was 3:20. But the intermission itself is like 15 or 20 minutes.
Right.
So it's really like two 90-minute movies.
And you go to one of the theaters where it's comfortable or just old school?
I went to AMC River East, which actually is a solid experience. Yeah. What they've done at, I feel like, all these theaters is they've just taken out all of the seats and just put in like
the recliners.
20 nice seats. Yeah. But like they're not doing the like, oh, here, eat a rotisserie chicken.
Oh, thank God.
In the movie theater.
There's nothing worse than somebody like.
Maybe it's because, but we went to the matinee. We went to like the 10:20 show, so maybe they just didn't get it.
And who is in
up.
This thing?
Adrian Brody's in it.
Oh, that's right.
Guy Pearce is in it.
I like him.
He's actually both of them are very good. Yeah. The woman that plays Adrian Brody's wife is also good. The other people are, and it's just, it's like I was telling James, it's like a Scorsese movie almost, where it's like, man, everybody's like making money and this is like a fun time. And then it's like, oh, they're all addicted to cocaine and like the feds are watching them. And now like it's not so much of a fun time.
It's like the last half of Goodfellas, where the wheels come off of everybody.
You leave and it's a bummer for sure.
Okay.
So
that's one I can definitely wait for.
I don't think you're, and when you finally do see it at your house, make sure you fall asleep during the intermission. I would fall asleep during the intermission.
I restarted everything we watched this weekend because I fell asleep during it. So.
But yeah, you had Valentine's Day. Everything was successful.
Wonderful Valentine's Day. It was great. Yesterday we had a nice day. Actually, went and worked out.
Good for you.
I don't do that often. So.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of fun considering how cold it was. Couldn't walk the dogs.
Was miserable.
So
yesterday you couldn't really do anything.
They don't do well on the snow and the ice. So
Kelly was telling me she's getting to be. I love your wife Michelle, but she's getting to be kind of like Michelle, where she's like sending me research from online, and she sent me some article about how like 2 dogs got electrocuted in Chicago from like being barefoot and stepping on like a hubcap that was like frozen, and it like electrocuted them. And so now I have to put these boots on Scout
boots?
every
That's
time
not
we
easy
go out.
Either.
And she hates them. It's like the most.
After the show,
shivers. Like
I've got
I'm gonna
a trick
like.
for you on how to put the boots on.
Okay, all right.
It's actually a good trick.
Pete's, that's premium content. You have to pay for Pete's dog boot.
This is high level content. But,
well, let's get into it because the Reserve Bank of Australia cut interest rates again last night, Pete, and I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive into the rate cut here, what the environment is for this Australian dollar, the price action that we saw, and what the future might look like for this commodity currency versus the U.S. dollar, but also versus some of the other commodity currencies, because Kiwi and Canadian dollar have obviously been super interesting. But you can see here over the last several months, we've been pretty flat, haven't changed interest rates going back to October of 2023. So more than a year of being flat up here at 4.35% in Australia. And they've actually held out at the high end of their interest rates better than Switzerland. You talk about them, they've cut interest rates, and you look at that.
Europe, UK, Swiss run through the list, right?
Europe, UK, Canada, their commodity currency brothers, so to speak, have been cutting interest rates like mad. As you can see here, down from 4.35%, a 25 bip cut. What's going on? What have you seen anything on your board from the last 24 hours?
No.
Any news around this?
It was very well telegraphed, very well expected. What they were looking for is some guidance as to what the next one is, and it's very much now. Don't know the state of tariffs. Wait and see. Not a lot of conviction as to the path is now lower and we're moving lower. So we saw a little bit of flutter, but honestly, very quiet Sunday night and Monday night, and you can see the little flurry around, which really tells you that nobody had a great idea around that this really would stick it in one way or another.
Yeah.
So
projected by the market as expected comes through. looking for something from the press conference afterwards, and you really don't get much. They do get this market back to unchanged,
right?
Because you could see going into the event,
They sold it off a little bit, and remember we were sub 62 cents, so we had a decent bounce in there, and they did sell it off. There was one thing that kind of moved Monday. Very quiet day, really quiet day in everything. U.S. equities, and when I say that, equity index futures, bonds, everything had very, very tight ranges. But this one kind of gave some ground, and they just basically put us back to where we were. So not a lot to make out of it. I think the move we would have had is if they didn't cut rates.
Yeah, that would have been super interesting. How much would they have put back in this Aussie if they don't cut rates?
Right.
Because this is one of those, I mean, I know a lot of the Forex traders out there look at, as they should, the overnight funding rates, the difference between interest rates, not only for supply and demand dynamics around these Forex pairs, but a lot of that supply and demand dynamic comes from the interest rate differential and how much someone might be paid to hold long U.S. dollars and short Aussie dollars, or have to pay to be long Aussie, short U.S. if the gap between their interest rates is going to widen. And so, yeah, if they don't come out and cut, the U.S. is already at, I think we're at 4.25 to 4.5, right? And so we're right in the range that they were at going into this event. And so if they don't, it's a surprise no cut. Maybe you see that Australian dollar catch a bid because they've probably already priced in this cut, and the idea that, okay, now the overnight funding rate is going to skew closer in the favor of the U.S. Dollar here, and how that affects supply and demand. But until they get down to, the 3 handle or 2% or anything down there, closer to Japan or some of these places where the carry trade is really a factor, it's pretty much a scratch right where it is now.
I imagine we'd see those swap rates on either side of zero. So
exactly.
Right.
Really a push for the moment. But something that is interesting outside of the actual movement from the interest rate decision, the overnight funding rates, of course, you can take a look at that stuff and how it's changed now that the rate decision has gone through, is this bounce over the first couple of weeks here of February. We're midway through the month, and it's been, since the start of the month here, a pretty straight shot from they break 62 cents, get all the way up last week, looking like they're going to head towards 64, and opened higher on Sunday, it looks like, looking for 64 cents, backing off a little bit here. How much of this is tied to, though, Pete, the interest rate decision? We just went through all the dynamics. They kind of ended up discarding it. It was one of those events where what happened is what was expected to happen. No real color from the press conference, very even. We might cut more, we might not. We're data dependent, X, Y, and Z. How much of this is tied to just risk on sentiment around Australia, China, et cetera, but also globally? I mean, you have a market right now where S&Ps are higher on the session. Is that holding this market up a little bit, some of the risk on tones that we've seen the last couple of weeks here?
Absolutely. I think we look at, the Chinese large caps, whether you're looking at an ETF like FXI or Baidu or JD, all substantially off their lows. Now, are they anywhere near where U.S. tech is? No.
For the last couple of years, no.
Right. Absolutely not. So is that helping? Absolutely. The fact that the interest rate cut is done and parsed and there wasn't really anything outstanding, what we're seeing is finally some positive tape action where we're holding on to rallies. And yes, we pulled back a little bit like we did Monday. We spent the bulk of that day, though, still at the higher end of where we've been recently. And that's a little bit of constructive tape action. So we're starting to see that some better activity, albeit much smaller ranges. Now, we were living in that wonderful world of 100 pips up, 100 pips down. that whole rate announcement was 30 pips on either side of that one little candle. So this isn't unexpected to see the market digest, kind of come off the lows. Very rarely do we get a spike low like we did, sub 61 cents, and we're right back to 66. The market does do that way. It kind of will run a little bit here and give you a little bit of, extension and then pull back. So I think we probably are seeing this play through a little bit. Different currencies at different times. Pound was a little bit different yesterday. Euro was being sold while the pound was being bought. And again, attributed it to, well, the UK had said that they're willing to send troops to Ukraine. Don't get caught up in that news cycle of that kind of stuff.
Well, it'll be interesting to see with this Aussie piece as we head into this shortened week. Because, you see plenty of times where they tried to take this market lower. It was able to fend off that selling and close the week last week higher and start this week around unchanged after some of the upside they saw Sunday into Monday. But for this week will be really interesting. If we close higher than 64 cents here, one, that those are really the highest prices that we've seen since mid-December. And two, I think that would be another feather in the Aussie cap here of confidence that we don't take a trip back down to 62 cents. Because, to your point, plenty of just little price action pieces that are building a little confidence in this market.
So what do? We bring down our expectations for everything we're looking for is, well, I can't get it until I get a 100-pip range. Market's not presenting that opportunity for it. So you're either going to trade a little bit less or you're going to bring in your expectations to be a little bit realistic. Sounds pejorative, but just
what the market is.
What the market's giving you right now. I think long term, we've seen some serious damage now from 70 cents down to 61.
Yeah.
All those longer term shorts really have not been challenged in any of this process. Now we're getting into the area where it might be a little bit interesting that some of the longer term shorts are going to be challenged. And that's where we possibly see a little bit of these extensions. So for me, this is a week where if we go out at the end of the day near the highs, I'm not going home short. If we, I'll be willing to trade both sides intraday, but be mindful that if we go out near the highs on a quiet rally up to new levels, chances are they're opening up in Asia. They're higher, and maybe all those downdrafts we saw on the way down, you can expect to see some updrafts as people cover on the way out. So think about it that way, a little bit around timing. Kiwi still has some catch up to do. It still has been the laggard there, but we're seeing a little bit more of currency specific stories, less dollar stories.
Yeah.
So
it's nice.
We adjust our trading and we move to the markets that are most interesting.
Yeah, we'll take a look at some of the crosses later on in the week. Sorry we didn't get to it today, but that'll do it for today's episode of Forex Focus. Stay tuned. Tom, Tony, and Bonetta coming up next.
Shake it up, stop when the clock hits 13. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.